Yeah, right now from where I sit, there's not a lot of argument to say that it works. And there's so many moving pieces that need to be either fixed or corrected in order for this to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm Jeremy Bedwani, Sydney's premier buyer's agent, and this is your podcast, Home Delivered, bringing you insights from industry leaders.
Today, my guest is Miron Solomons, National Director of Investment Sales for Cushman and Wakefield. We discuss the new low to mid-rise housing policy and how it's set to vastly change Sydney's property market as we know it.
This is your podcast, Home Delivered.
Miron, thanks for coming in. I wanted to see you today and chat to you because we're seeing the most significant planning reform Sydney property has seen in a generation. And I think it's something like 171 locations that have just been rezoned under the government's new low to mid-rise housing policy, meaning basically that suburbs are being reshaped literally overnight. And it feels to me like it, in a way, came out of nowhere.
Yeah, we were certainly caught a little bit off guard with the state government's announcement. And it's since then they've mobilised as well. It's moving in incredible pace. We're seeing transactions already. Serendipitous timing. We were just talking about over the weekend, they've announced the Woollahra train station as well. So you can't stop progress. Yeah. And here we are.
So it's come about, from what I understand, to try and ease the supply issue that people have been up in arms about for many, many years. Is it going to work?
Look, we definitely need supply. As I said, you can't stop progress. We need the housing, we need the density. I guess the real question is, and the billion-dollar question now, is where should that supply be? It's a little bit of a political hot potato. Where they've announced some of the supply doesn't make sense. We're taking control away from certain councils because they haven't performed and they haven't met their hurdles as far as the housing numbers. So look, although contentious, this has got to happen. Yeah. It's just where, how and why.
So some of those councils have not performed like you're saying, but now we're going to put this responsibility on them to make sure this is implemented the right way and that these town centres and these communities can still operate properly.
Yeah.
More pressure.
Definitely more pressure. Really important to note that although now the planning journey of some of these LMR sites is taken away from council, council do still control parts of the approval.
Right.
Some of those parts, really important to note, is overshadowing.
Yep. Your
setbacks, your tree canopy, and this is a really important one, traffic as well.
Yeah.
So where they're projecting this density, what can council do to sort of maintain a bit of control there? It is a little bit of argy-bargy at the moment. Yeah. We're certainly going to see that.
Yeah.
And then it's probably the most important and most significant component of all these sites is the affordable housing component.
Yeah.
Giving you bonus density, and that is away from council's control.
So let's explain that. Let's explain that for people. If you're a developer and you're looking to buy one of these sites and produce, let's call it a 6-story apartment block, you actually get a bonus if you put some affordable housing within that site. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. So it's essentially a 30% bonus on your overall density.
Yep.
A component of that must be affordable housing.
Yep.
And a component of that must be operated by an approved or accredited affordable housing operator. The developer cannot sell that component of the site for 15 years unless they sell it in one line.
Okay. So there are positives that we can talk about here today, and the reason I also wanted to speak to you is because you can speak to the angle of if you are an individual homeowner and your house is in one of these areas, but you can also kind of speak about the complexities and what the developers themselves have to adhere to. Let's start with the homeowners first, okay? If you are in one of these areas, let's call it Mossman's had a lot of publicity, Rose Bay's had a lot of publicity, and you're somewhere between 400 to 800 metres within the zone of a town centre, you stand to be a winner.
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Yeah, fair to say.
Yeah.
You certainly will benefit from the increased density within those areas. Defining winners is a really interesting one.
Yep.
And I guess for us and the lens we look through, it's positive as an agent, but it's complex from a construction methodology point of view or a funding point of view.
Yeah.
So these are really important components that those homeowners, I guess, perhaps aren't experienced enough to understand. They need an expert advice.
Yep.
Whether that's from an agent, whether it's from a property consultant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unknowns.
But if we break it down, these homeowners before this all came about, had a view of what their house might have been worth, and today, how much more could it be worth?
It's life-changing.
Yeah, it's life-changing money, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're already seeing, and it's tangible now, there's been a couple of transactions, particular Rose Bay, Double Bay, double the value. Who would have thought? I mean, those properties' intrinsic value in these areas, some of these areas for LMR already is world renowned. I mean, we don't see values year on year increase in many places like these suburbs anyway.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's a massive sugar hit.
So they've had a sugar hit, to call it, at the least, to call it that, I guess, or maybe even a mini lotto win. So if you're in that zone, that's great. If you're a sales agent working around there, that's great. And if you're a developer, over the last few years, has it been a little bit tough for them to get things to stack up?
It really has, and I think that's probably why they're mobilising around some of these LMR sites. Yeah. And it's not everyone. There's a lot of developers who have probably been, whether it's priced out or the fundamentals just don't work in their markets where they may have core experience. They may have navigated some of those local councils, built a reputation, and we may be talking about Western Sydney, South Sydney. They're already looking at these suburbs because the fundamentals work for us. Let's talk about Double Bay or Rose Bay.
Sure.
Right? What you can sell the asset for once you deliver it versus what you can buy it for and build it for still makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's room for error or room for contingency on your feasibility. So naturally, where there's lower risk, developers want to buy.
Okay, so that works for them. It works for the sales agents like we talked about. It works for the people who own in those particular areas. What about if you're a few meters outside of the zone? Let's say you've owned a house for 35, 40 years. You've been diligently paying off the mortgage, and you've always had the belief that this suburb and the way capital appreciation has performed over the years, this suburb and this house is going to look after us. And we've got a view of what our house is going to be worth in 3, 4, 5 years' time when we come to sell it. Now you're sitting outside of that zone. What does it mean for someone like that who owns that particular house who the developers don't want?
Really good question. It is somewhat sterilised, and I think it'll be sterilised permanently. As far as LMR goes, they're not going to allow a lot of flexibility on what they've currently approved within that 400 to 800 radius.
So these people who think, oh, maybe we'll get lucky and it'll work for us, you don't think that's going to happen?
I don't think so, especially when your planning is so fresh. With it just being gazetted and just announced, if they were to move that goalpost now, or that radius push out in one suburb to accommodate one owner
so it's a dangerous precedent.
Amalgamation, absolutely. Where does it start? Where does it stop?
So let's just say, as an example, that person's house who, they've been slaving away for 35 years to get that mortgage down. And let's say before this came about, it was worth $5 million. What do you think, just roughly, what kind of a hit do these people expect to take? Because who wants to live next to the development?
The density, correct. And perhaps that's why they moved there, to be away from the density.
Yeah.
Look, I imagine some of them will be pretty happy that council or their local council still control traffic and setbacks and overshadowing that we discussed before. At the same time, not all hope is lost. Having seen, as recent as this weekend, Woollahra all of a sudden announced train station, we may see that happen in other suburbs where they do continue to deliver the infrastructure. All of a sudden, that owner who's missed out is now close enough to benefit from it.
Yeah.
So, look, it may be lost at the moment with LMR, but that could all change overnight, literally, which it just has.
And look, these kinds of plans have. It seems like they've been in the works for some period of time, discussion about it, and they're now here and they've hit us. But I kind of feel for those people who live there that, thought they'd be able to sell that house for $5 million 2 months ago and now might not even get 2.5.
Yeah.
It's tough. The other thing I kind of wonder about is if, say you own an apartment at the moment, say you don't own one of these glitzy houses, but you own an apartment, and let's say it's a boutique block, and there's not that many apartments in your nearby vicinity, you have inherent value in the fact of that scarcity and that block being boutique in itself. But if now 3 doors down there's a high rise coming and there's a lot more apartments available, those people lose a lot of value as well.
They do.
Yep.
They do.
What can we say for them? What can we say to those people?
Look, I think the supply and demand question, it affects both the developer and the homeowner. Let's talk about the homeowner first. Again, not all hope is lost, as we said, for these guys, and he or she who holds out longest can sometimes win. Because you're saying they're going to deliver all these apartments, all of a sudden the house becomes rare.
Absolutely.
It may take a little bit longer with the intrinsic value to get to those numbers that they could get today if they sell LMR, but all of a sudden there's no houses around. There is always going to be demand for family homes.
Yeah.
So look, I think let's put that to side. Okay. The other major concern is a developer. We're talking about that increased density and a supply or potentially oversupply of apartments, which look, we've never seen before in some of these suburbs.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in this industry 25 years, in particular eastern suburbs. I can't remember the last time there was an oversupply of units in Rose Bay.
Of course.
Or Double Bay.
Yeah.
Or Mossman, for example.
For sure.
So that is going to be a concern on the balance sheet. Can you build this and afford not to sell the apartments quickly? With the cost of debt, cost of construction, it's an interesting one.
Okay. So I guess it's a sit and wait for those people who are outside those zones. You're not necessarily suggesting they should just try and get out now, sell now and try and buy something else. If you've made your capital growth over the last 30 years, you've obviously bought in at a pretty good rate. The market has looked after you to a certain extent. You're not recommending just getting out?
Look, no, I think there needs to be an element of calmness here as well. It's obviously hysteria now.
Yes.
And guilty as charged. There's a lot of agents running around trying to do what we do, and that's
sell.
Make a living.
Yeah.
That's take advantage of these changes, and we are talking to owners and homeowners and owner-occupiers about what their house is worth and what the changes may look like. People always want to live somewhere where either they like that density, they like the busyness, or they want to be somewhere where it's a lot more quiet. I think there'll still be the push and pull factors, regardless of what we say and what changes happen. So I don't think anyone's going to rush to get out of it just yet. They're going to wait and see what it looks like.
Okay.
We still have to deliver some of the stock.
Yeah.
I mean, we could be talking years.
Sure.
The planning process is now streamlined, but we've got to find the builders, or the developers have to find the builders.
Yep.
They've got to find the funders in order to support the construction. These things take time.
Yep.
So right now, we need to calm down a bit and just see how it all maps out.
So if you're a homeowner and you're getting the knock on the door, what kind of conversations can you expect? What should they prepare for? And what is that kind of usual length of time before it turns into some realization?
Yeah, it's putting a timeline on it's really tricky. I guess here it's sort of hope you're being a good neighbour and you're friendly with your neighbours, because
you want to collaborate.
You'll obviously collaborate and capitalise, because that density is important.
If you weren't friends before, you're going to be friends
all of
now,
a sudden,
right?
Yeah. You'll certainly be friends moving forward, perhaps.
Yeah.
What should a homeowner be looking for? I think it's probably a little bit of expertise. As I said, there's a lot of agents or people running around creating the hysteria, getting excited. You want to understand value as best you can, and it may not be, again, your expertise as the homeowner, but make sure that the agent has somewhat expertise in construction. You want to try and look through that lens that the developer looks through.
Okay.
Whether that's the agent guiding you or some sort of consultant guiding you, then you'll identify the true value.
Okay.
Because it's not just about the strike price, what that may look like and what you're being offered, but when you're going to get the money. What's that subject to? What other hurdles does that developer need to meet in order to complete the transaction?
Yeah.
Are you going to get into bed with the wrong party? All of a sudden you don't sell or it doesn't complete.
Yeah.
Are the planning laws going to change again? Now that is a really interesting question, and it's a question a lot of people are asking already, is does this make sense? Will this actually happen?
Yeah.
That's
right, yeah.
Are we, just to I guess, expand on the affordable housing component, how many of these sites being sold really bake in or incorporate that affordable housing component? It's not mandatory.
Right.
So there are developers who are looking at that optics now going, should I build that in? I can't sell it, or I've got to hold it 15 years and sell it, or sell it in one line.
So the housing affordability component might even take away from some profit for developers?
For a number of reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting one. I mean, with the cost of debt, cost of construction, if you can't sell everything at a premium, and you've got a huge component sort of stuck there, it's a real issue.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't have to build it, do you want to build it, if that's the issue?
Yeah.
Now, whoever's buying these apartments, you've also got to look through, I guess, their optics, which is, do I want to live in a project where I have a significant affordable housing component? Now, you've got to be careful the way we sort of approach that. And it doesn't mean you're living in
right.
But
because it brings up questions for who the neighbours are literally going to be, right?
And let's talk about Mossman or Rose Bay.
Yeah.
$5 to $10 million apartments. Does that owner, perhaps they're a downsizer, perhaps they're an empty nester, this is their last legacy purchase. Do I want to buy that unit in a building where majority or a component are affordable housing, which means they're tenants, not owner-occupiers?
Yeah, they're tenants, but it also, I think people need to understand who they're being built for and who is basically able to live as one of those tenants.
I can give you some colour on that as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. From what I understand, it's not like housing commission. It's people who are like nurses,
correct,
police officers, people like that who are not necessarily high income earners that wouldn't necessarily be able to live in a block of $5 to $10 million units.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we've got to be careful when we use the word optics, right? Because we're not talking about houso, for use of a better word.
Yeah.
Talking about a household income with a threshold of $180,000 per annum.
Yeah. And these people, if they're nurses and they work at a hospital that's nearby, they can't live 40 kilometres away to get to that hospital.
100%.
So that's why this has been put in place.
That's why we need this.
Yeah.
And that's why, look, as far as a believer, I believe we need the affordable housing component.
Yeah, somehow.
The problem is, we're not seeing the developers choose to
do it
bake
in the
this
first place, right?
Which sort of, that's why we ask the question, is this all actually going to happen? If people aren't building it, council has a really good argument to push back to state government.
Right.
It's a really big question mark for probably 12 months from now. So again, going back to that buyer.
So just to interrupt there, so are you saying that for those people who are willing to sell, that there's a conversation around what this could be worth, but that actually could change later on in time as well? Like it's not set in stone?
I think so.
Yeah.
Look, nothing's set in stone.
Yeah.
I think the objective is to deliver housing, deliver affordable housing. Whether we're going to see that happen with the current transactions and the amount of opportunities that are on the market, because of the cost of debt, again, the cost of construction, it doesn't make a lot of sense right now. If this was 10 years ago, different story.
Sure.
First, we had a lot more builders. Cash was cheaper.
Yep.
So what happens if we're not delivering affordable housing? Does this make any sense at all?
That's right. And if you put like areas where there are housing commission homes, people object no matter where they are.
Sure.
Right? So there has to be something else.
Yeah. You look at the amenities in these buildings, right?
Yeah.
You're building a new product in, again, Rose Bay, let's choose Rose Bay again.
Yep.
And you're selling $5, $10 million apartments. Generally speaking, at that price point, they're owner-occupiers. You know that better than anyone.
Sure.
Does an owner-occupier want to be in a building where they have 30 or 40 tenants? Because what that does to the amenity, or the pressure it puts on the amenity, services, costs, strata levies,
absolutely,
repairs, maintenance. It's a big question.
No, it's a question that, clients will ask. If we're looking to buy them an apartment, wherever it is, they'll always try to understand what is the ratio between owner-occupiers and tenants.
Yep.
For that very reason.
Yep.
And so I think it's fair enough. I think it's a fair question. And another thing they'll also ask is, what's the likelihood of Airbnb going on in these apartment blocks too?
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah, you've got to be a registered provider, but that doesn't mean that the units that have sold can't do it. You can do whatever you want with it, right?
That's right, yeah.
So, we've got to see if there is absorption, if there's take-up. Is it worth building these? Construction methodology is one thing, right? It's hard to build at the moment.
For sure.
And some of these sites work, and there's a couple that I'm working on right now. We're very selective.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
Yeah, right.
But they have the scale.
Yeah. So it's incredible for the developer, it's incredible for the sales agent. When you're having those conversations with these people who are looking to sell these houses, is there any money released to them for someone who's never looked into this for the first time? Like, how does that process unfold? When do they get something? When do they get certainty? Because you'd think that if they're going to take part in this, they're going to have to go look for somewhere else to live.
Yeah.
So at some point, they're going to start wanting to search.
It's the best question you've asked as far as when do you get paid, right?
Yeah.
Because it's how long is the length of string?
Yeah.
You've got agents running around with perhaps one developer or a developer approaching directly. They have a certain structure. Where the push and pull factors are for them, we don't know. But when you run a process, the idea or the objective of the agent is to protect value, right?
Okay.
And for us, how do we protect value? We make sure we're balancing, I guess, the best outcome as far as pricing for that owner, as well as the risk on
of certainty,
settling.
or uncertainty.
And when you get paid.
Yeah.
Like, do we have a component released up front before the developer settles, runs their planning? And the longer a developer generally has to settle, the less erosion of margin.
Sure.
They're not paying debt. They're not, paying the interest. They're not paying the builders yet. So the more time they have to, I guess, get all the pieces in place. So the benefit of that should be the homeowner. You should benefit from allowing the developer more time to get their ducks in a row.
Sure.
Which means more money may be released up front.
But then you've got other people in the syndicate that want to get paid sooner, and you other people who would want other things.
Correct. Yeah. Everyone's got different objectives, right? Yeah. Everyone needs the cash for different purposes.
Yeah.
But there should definitely be a component, skin in the game up front.
Okay.
And we're seeing that.
Okay, so that's your advice. If you're sitting there at the dining table with these people who own these houses, you're saying, this is what I'm going to try to get for you.
Yep.
This is what you should expect, and this is in your best interest as well.
100%.
Yeah,
as well as, I guess, helping articulate to those owners who these developers may be. Stress testing the buyer themselves.
Sure.
Do they have the ability to complete?
Yeah, right.
What have they built before?
So you look at their track record, you see what they've done, if they've done stuff nearby.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hard to recommend an owner have a long-term settlement, that could be 12, 24 months, with a developer who perhaps
never done
could
anything.
disappear in 6 months when they don't get the outcome they want.
Yeah.
It can be brutal.
So there's a lot of that to kind of wade through before you make those decisions.
Sure.
So you said there's a few that have really come off now. They're happening. Is there any way for other, I guess, owners in the local area to object and to stop this happening? Or are we seeing that groundswell in any way? Because I'm hearing that there's people that are starting to, complain or whinge that there's going to be way too much traffic. Yeah. The councils and the people responsible aren't ready for that.
Yeah.
There's going to be way too much congestion.
Yep.
The amenity of lifestyle is drastically going to change. Are you hearing that as well?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing action groups being formed.
Action groups, yeah.
There's an article in the AFR last week, you may have seen it, on Rose Bay.
Yeah.
And that was sort of engineered towards construction methodology, where they're saying the ground can't support it. And look, we're the most over-engineered country when it comes to construction in the world.
Okay.
Our processes are incredible. Perhaps that was not the right angle, but yes, there is definitely a good enough need to talk about that, because how does that affect the adjoining home? Or traffic is probably the most interesting one for that market. I mean, right now, trying to get down the one main artery.
Oh my God, yeah. Let's talk Military Road towards Mossman, right?
Let's not, right? We'll go to the fetal position.
Yeah.
And a lot of those homeowners will. And all of a sudden, they're going to introduce maybe a couple of hundred dwellings to a couple of thousand dwellings.
Yeah.
It
means a lot more
the
people.
The structure's not there. Well, you need transport links. Funny thing is, and this is their argument, right? We have seen about $90 billion spent in infrastructure since, or pre-COVID now. Metro, light rail, which Eastern Suburb centric as well.
Yep.
The M8.
Yep.
Some incredible infrastructure has been delivered already.
Sure.
You commend the government for that. However, and there should always be density, and this is globally where that infrastructure is. There is a good argument for it. The question is, why are we putting some of this density where that infrastructure has not been delivered?
Not at the moment at all, yeah.
Again, it's really political, and this is not NIMBY stuff. You've got a lot of these new suburbs who have benefited from this infrastructure saying, oh, well, the eastern suburbs or Mossman, it hasn't done, it delivered 100 homes, it should be delivering 1,000 a year. There was already density there. Where we have delivered some of that transport, not there was nothing there by any means, that would be disrespectful, but there was land.
Yeah. So the way you see it is that, look, it's not your problem. If it's an issue, that's literally for someone else to deal with. You're going to get these action groups. You're going to get these people that would literally complain about anything anyway.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that it's going to cause more congestion and there's going to be a lot more of a population squeeze, but we're just going to have to do something about it to find new ways.
Can't stop progress.
Yeah.
This is happening.
Yeah.
This is very real. It's very tangible.
Yeah.
How it happens and how it forms shape.
Yeah.
Still a question mark.
Yeah.
But it's definitely happening.
Can you see it expanding further in years to come? I
think it has to.
Yeah.
I think we're so far behind in delivery of housing in this country.
Okay.
that this is only part of the solution.
The fact that we're so far behind is, it's got to be said, right, that it's helped those people who have bought houses many, many years ago, held onto them, and we've seen extreme capital growth over a long period of time to the benefit of those people, but at the same time it's squeezed other people out from being able to afford those houses. Do you see that changing now over the next generation? Does that capital appreciation thing to build generational wealth or wealth via someone's home, does that change via this?
Fundamentally, no.
Okay.
Not yet. I think we'll still always have the Aussie dream.
Yep.
We'll still have the desire for the lifestyle that this country offers and this state offers as well. For those reasons, that's not going anywhere.
Okay.
Right? It may change shape. Is it an apartment versus a house now?
Okay.
Children are going to be raised without a backyard and in units versus these homes, and that's how I manifest the dream anyway.
Yeah, right.
But the desire will always be there. The barrier to entry, I think, will still be there.
Yeah.
You know, it's if anything, we may see that increase a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, we could deliver endless homes, endless apartments if there's reasons why people want to live here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
And I've touched on them before. And I think as well, when it comes to these homes and these areas, if there's going to be houses turned into apartments, inherently, does that make some of those other houses that are slightly outside the zone more attractive or more expensive? Because they're large, they're still large homes. They've got the backyard.
Yeah.
Whereas these ones down the road got swallowed up and turned into apartments. Is that a benefit to these other homeowners a bit down the road?
Look, I think so.
Yeah.
If it was me, yeah, I think I'd want to live in the house. It's a bit further away.
Further down the road,
raising a young family.
Yeah.
That's perhaps what I want. It's not for everyone. There will still be desire for that as well, and people always want that lifestyle. You know, how does that change? It may only change when they add another station or another light rail stop, and I think that's coming.
That's coming, yeah.
And all of a sudden, that home then is in the 400 to 800 metre radius.
Yeah, okay.
People are probably walking a little bit on eggshells, just wondering if I'm next.
Yeah, that's right. And just out of the blue, we've just spoke about it before. It literally got announced in the papers over the weekend about Woollahra. There's some people wouldn't even know that there used to be a train station there, right?
Yeah.
But it's coming back.
Admittedly, I had to check on the map again.
Yeah, where
morning.
is it exactly? Yeah.
And funny, because we've got an auction in Queen Street, Woollahra tomorrow. So not that we're scrambling, but we're going to make sure we're on top of it so we can obviously talk about this. And there's probably going to be a bit of desire from the investor going, well, hey, all of a sudden I've got a really good piece of freehold property, 800 metres away from a train station.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Yeah.
The density around it probably needs a bit of work.
And the well-heeled people of Woollahra to think that there could be a train station in their suburb now.
Yeah, potentially mortified. But, But also at the same time, you've got a station in Bondi Junction, you've got a station in Edgecliff, which is arguably in walking distance. Was this needed, or is this a bit of political jockeying? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be the most expensive station ever built because the infrastructure's there. Probably from a government point of view, it makes sense, barrier to entry. But the density around it, that is, I think, what the so-called well-heeled or all residents, let's be honest, will have question marks about.
Yeah, for sure, because similar to what you were saying before, there have not, I guess Woollahra, to use that as an example, might not have seen so many property transactions over such a period of time because of the density being so low.
100%.
So if you compare that to other suburbs, Woollahra would have been well behind. And people would be saying, well, that's not equality. Is that the argument?
Yeah, it's a hard measurement, right? I mean, it's tightly held.
Yeah.
Many suburbs are, for a good reason. You just don't get the volume and there's not density for volume already.
Yeah.
Does that mean you have to introduce it? I don't know. It's a really interesting one. The other thing you need to note is the suburb is not that badly connected to transport. We spoke about stations, but both those stations, again, have a major bus terminal. Like if you can't walk a kilometre, whatever it is, there's 300 buses a day from each side. So there'll be a lot of people sitting back going, well, how does this make sense? Does it really need to be here? It's not about the station. It's about the density surrounding the station.
Yeah.
They're talking, perhaps it was throwaway. I mean, 10,000 dwellings?
Sounds like a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
That's 20 or 30 of these 25-storey towers.
Where are they going to go?
Where are they going to go?
Yeah.
There's a heritage factor as well.
Absolutely.
And that's something that a lot of these homeowners should be considering.
Yeah.
Going outside of Woollahra, we spoke about the homeowners who may be outside of the LMR, but they could also be within the LMR if there's a heritage component, and there's a lot of those in the suburbs we've spoken about. And there's no LMR.
Well, we wouldn't be surprised if people from Woollahra asked for it to be, I guess, removed from LMR altogether, right? You wouldn't be surprised. Whereas somewhere like Bathurst or Blue Mountains, they're excluded.
Yeah.
Do we know why?
Look, we don't.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem, and that's the argument, right? It's why are we not increasing density in regional or Newcastle's done it. They've got light rail.
Yeah.
Are we going to see that in Bathurst? There's a really good argument.
Yeah.
What we're seeing in Woollahra is probably, out of all those suburbs we've spoken about, there's probably more heritage there than anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to see all of a sudden councils mobilised to
changing heritage restrictions,
make more heritage, which again constipates the density? Because you don't, regardless of your zoning, if you're heritage, you can't build anything on these with these new planning changes. And they'll spot rezone Woollahra, and they'll say, look, this is where we want to do it, and it's 800-metre radius to the station, but it's going to be hard to find enough buildings that are not heritage to make that happen.
Yeah, right. Well, I think we've covered off so much ground. Like, I mean, if you just had to quickly summarise it, what would you say about all these schemes and new reforms?
Yeah, right now from where I sit, there's not a lot of argument to say that it works. And there's so many moving pieces that need to be either fixed or corrected in order for this to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see the hysteria, I guess, calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
To my fellow agents, guys, just chill. Let's make sure this works for the homeowners.
Yeah.
Let's make sure this works for the developers, and most importantly, those who need the affordable housing component. Right now, it's.
You think there's a bit of work to be done?
There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work. The wheels are in motion.
Yeah.
But we need to slow down a little bit.
Okay. Now, I appreciate you coming in, and before I let you go, I ask people more of a personal question as I wrap up these podcasts, and I wanted to ask you as well. And it's about your own property kind of aspiration. So if there was no barrier at all, and you personally could buy one property in Sydney, no matter what it was or where it was, what would that property be for you?
For me, and this is a conversation I have with my wife a lot. It's funny, and perhaps we're at the time of our lives. It's probably getting back to my roots, going a bit rural.
Yeah.
I'd like to be on the land. To me, that's in the direction of the hunter.
Nice.
I think for me, it's having somewhere where perhaps the kids and grandkids can come, and a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing space. Not running away from LMR. Yeah. But that's just me. So I want to be up towards the wine region.
So if I ask your wife, she might have a different view, huh?
Yeah, she'll be near the beach.
There you go, mate. Thanks again. Appreciate seeing you, and really appreciate the chat.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.